After a devastating house fire, officials told Luz Cuevas her 10-day-old baby was gone, burned to death in the blaze. But against all logic, against all evidence, she knew the truth. She insisted her daughter hadn't been in the fire, she had been stolen. For 6 years, everyone called her crazy, a grieving mother lost in delusion. For 6 years, she never gave up. This is the story of how one mother's instinct proved the entire world wrong and unmasked a kidnapper hiding in plain sight. December of 1997 should have been a happy time for Luz Cuevas and Fateful Vera. Their new daughter, Delimar, was just 10 days old, and the family was getting ready for their first Christmas together. But that joy was shattered by an inferno. The fire ripped through their second-floor apartment, and in the frantic escape, Delimar disappeared from her crib. When the smoke cleared, the official investigation delivered a brutal verdict. The fire was ruled accidental, likely caused by a malfunctioning space heater's extension cord. And since there were no remains, investigators theorized the blaze had been hot enough to completely destroy the infant's body, a conclusion some experts would later find highly questionable. The case was closed, an accidental fire, a tragic death. But from the very beginning, Luz was adamant. That wasn't what happened. She told authorities she had run into the nursery during the fire and found the crib empty. Her baby was already gone. She even noted that the window was mysteriously open despite the December cold. Her desperate pleas, however, were dismissed as the ramblings of a mother in shock. The world told her to mourn, to accept the unacceptable, but a powerful feeling took hold in her heart. Delimar was alive. She believed someone had set the fire on purpose to cover up a kidnapping. This impossible theory became her lonely mantra. While her community offered condolences for her loss, she insisted a crime had been committed. Her relationship with Pedro, the baby's father, crumbled under the strain. He and the rest of the world eventually moved on, but Luz could not. For more than 2,000 days, she held on to a belief that no one else shared, scanning the faces of children in crowds, forever searching for the daughter everyone else believed was gone. The years that followed were filled with grief and isolation. Luz's insistence that Delimar had been stolen was met with pity and disbelief. How could she possibly know? The evidence seemed clear. There was a fire, and the baby was gone. To the police, and even to some in her own family, her refusal to accept the official story was a sign of a mind stuck in denial, unable to process an unimaginable trauma. Yet, her conviction never wavered. She carried the memory of her daughter not as a ghost, but as a living, breathing person. This unwavering belief was a heavy burden. It pushed away those who just wanted her to heal and move on. Every day was a fight against the accepted reality, a solitary crusade fueled by nothing more than a feeling. She was a mother without a child, armed only with an instinct that defied all reason and logic. The world had closed the case on Delimar Vera, but in Luz's heart, it remained wide open. She was just waiting for the proof that she knew, with every fiber of her being, had to be out there somewhere. She just had to find it. 6 years after the fire, in January 2004, Luz Cuevas went to a child's birthday party. It was an ordinary event, filled with laughter, music, and playing children. But for Luz, it would become the single most important day of her life. Across the room, she saw a little girl, about 6 years old, with bright eyes and a familiar smile. The child's name was Aaliyah. As she watched the girl play, an overwhelming feeling washed over her. There was something in the child's face, a specific set of dimples, that hit her with the force of a physical blow. They were the same dimples she remembered from her baby, Delimar. The resemblance to her other children and to herself was undeniable. In that instant, 6 years of doubt and lonely hope came crashing together into a single shocking certainty. This was her daughter. The woman who brought the little girl to the party was Carolyn Correa, a cousin of Pedro's. Luz remembered that Carolyn had visited their house right before the fire. Suddenly, the impossible theory didn't feel so impossible anymore. Luz knew she couldn't just run over and start screaming. Her claim would sound insane. She had to be clever. Approaching the little girl, she pretended to see something in her hair. "Oh, you have some gum in your hair. Let me get it out for you," she said gently. With that simple, deceptive act, she managed to pluck a few strands of the girl's hair, the physical proof she had been seeking for 6 long years. This story is a powerful reminder that a parent's intuition can sometimes see what the rest of the world misses. It's a theme that appears in some of the most unbelievable true stories. If you find these kinds of mysteries as compelling as we do, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. Now, let's get back to the moment the truth finally came out. Armed with a few strands of hair and a fire in her heart, Luz Cuevas now faced her next battle, getting the authorities to listen. She had little money and spoke limited English, making it tough to navigate the system. She took the hair samples to the police, but with no official open case, they were initially hesitant to help. Undeterred, Luz found an ally in State Representative Angel Cruz, who was so moved by her story that he helped her get the DNA test she so desperately needed. The samples were submitted, and the agonizing wait began. Finally, the results came in. It was a perfect match. DNA proved with scientific certainty that the little girl known as Aaliyah was in fact Delimar Vera. Luz's crazy theory was now an undeniable fact. The investigation that followed unraveled a dark and calculated plot. The prime suspect was Carolyn Correa, the woman who had been raising Delimar just 15 miles away in New Jersey. Investigators alleged that Correa had kidnapped 10-day-old Delimar from her crib and then intentionally set the fire to cover her tracks. It was a crime born of deception, hidden in plain sight for 6 long years. Correa was arrested and charged with kidnapping and arson. During the investigation, it was also revealed that she had been convicted in a separate, unrelated arson case from 1996. The motive was never completely clear, but prosecutors suggested Correa had been desperate for a baby of her own after suffering a miscarriage. At her trial, Correa tried to claim that the baby's father, Pedro Vera, had given her the child, an accusation he fiercely denied, and that the judge found completely unbelievable. In 2005, Carolyn Correa was convicted for the kidnapping of Delimar Vera and sentenced to 9 to 30 years in prison. Justice, after so many years, was finally served. But the real heart of this story isn't in the courtroom. It's in the reunion of a mother and daughter torn apart by a terrible crime. The transition wasn't easy. Delimar, who had only ever known herself as Aaliyah, had to learn about her true identity and a whole new family. A language barrier stood between them, as Delimar spoke English, while her biological parents primarily spoke Spanish. But surrounded by the love of her mother, father, and siblings, she began to heal and build a new life. Today, Delimar Vera is an adult, a wife, and a mother herself. She has spoken openly about the identity crisis and anger she felt as a teenager, but has since forged a strong, loving relationship with her mother, Luz. Her story has been told in documentaries, where she has shared the complicated journey of reclaiming her own identity. It's a case that highlights both a system that failed and the incredible power of one person. The The system failed to believe a mother, but that mother's intuition, her unwavering, relentless belief that her daughter was alive, succeeded where official investigations gave up. The story of Luz Cuevas and Delimar Vera is a chilling reminder that sometimes the most important truth isn't found in evidence or reports, but in the unshakable heart of a parent who simply refuses to give up.